with every trial and tribulation of things I've been through, I was always scared. I was running on fear. That's why I drank. I was running on fear, phobia, procrastinating, everything. Fast forward to where I made the plunge for the business. I just wanted to dive in and I was sick and tired of being scared, sick and tired of being afraid of everything. I just wanted to just tackle the demons, I guess, and just, face life. And I just wanted to just make it happen.
Welcome back to another show of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts, Dan and Anthony. Today, our special guest is Myke Hogan with Crawl Space Innovations, LLC. Welcome to the pod, Myke.
Thanks for having me here, guys.
Glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about what you do, Myke.
I do, obviously, crawl spaces. That's crawl space installation. I do mold remediation, basically cleaning out crawl spaces. Just getting them up to snuff, up to code, for energy efficiency, better air quality, things of that nature. If there's any standing water down there, I do, basically redirecting water out of there, put sub pumps down there, things of that nature. It's pretty much it's a different phase of insulation. So for people that are familiar with insulation applications, it's just another application of insulation.
Yeah, so they say, do things that others don't want to do, and you'll have a paycheck for the rest of your life, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely crawl spaces is on that list. But why? Why crawl spaces?
It's not to toot of my horn, but it's pretty difficult. It's enough to where sometimes I want to tap out. It's that bad. But then I get my cookie cutters. Thank God that they do pop up now and then. But it's just one of those jobs where you gotta turn the switch off when you go into them holes and just make it happen. I got a knack for it. I'm vertically challenged. I'm only 5'6", I'll say 5'7", But,
I'm with you, bro.
Yeah,
I usually say 5'10", I'm 5'9".
I gotta
Sounds
put
better.
an inch in there.
You could say 5'7", because I say 5'6", and you got a little bit on me. So,
But yeah, so I use my height to my advantage on that one. And it's not that I ever enjoyed crawl spaces, because they do suck, but I just had a knack for it, insulating for, 20 plus years, about maybe I think 23, 24 years. I started off in crawl spaces when I worked for companies, and that's kind of where they throw you in. They kind of break you in, see what you got. But
they
The
haze
grunt work.
you. They haze you. They say, get in that crawl space.
That's exactly what it is. It's the hazing. But unbeknownst to them, I came from some pretty grueling work prior. So, I used to do bulkheading, building piers, docks, and jetties. So, and I worked with some roughnecks, some pretty rough guys.
That's like a hillbilly business.
Yeah, I learned a lot. That manned me up. I came in, I was green. I was a kid. I was a punk. I knew everything. I argued all the time. I just always had an answer for things I didn't even know what I was talking about. And I wish I can go back and talk to some of those guys again. I mean, bless their souls, they're 6 feet under, but they're a plethora of information that's locked in a vault forever underground. And if I can go back and talk to those guys again, man, so many things I've learned from them, That's back when you can talk to people a certain way on job sites and you don't get in trouble.
Right.
for it.
You
You
know,
know
now
what I mean?
No one's getting all
lawsuit.
butthurt.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, you're talking about how you're vertically challenged. I'm thinking about like a good little logo or like little caption, like little Myke gets in tight places, like just showing like a little midget guy running through crawl spaces.
Careful with the midget. We prefer little people.
It's all
Vertically challenged.
it's
yeah,
all
that's
good.
what I say,
My man Mark, bro, he loves us. My little Trump boy. So
boy.
you've been doing crawl spaces for a long time, installation for a long time, and I remember a conversation we had probably 3.5 years ago. You were working for somebody and you wanted to go out on your own, and you called me and asked me my advice, and I really didn't give you any answer, but just do it, And why did you want to go out on your own? And then after I gave you that advice, what did you do in order to take action?
That's a good question. Bear with me. I can peel the layers back on this. Why I wanted to do it initially, because this goes back many, many years. This goes back to like, I'm going to say 2010. That's when we had Hurricane Sandy,
Yeah,
right?
2011, yeah.
Yeah, and I had the idea back then, but I was a young man back then, And honestly, I'm kind of glad I didn't take the plunge then, because I had a lot of growing up to do. And I was still making some mistakes in life. And if I would have took the plunge then, I probably would have ruined a lot of opportunities and probably burned a lot of bridges. But the seed was already planted. My mind was already going a mile a minute every night. I've always been very creative, to where I'd lay at night and I'd lose sleep because I had insomnia. So I would just think and fantasize about things I wanted to do and things I knew I was capable of doing. And if I ever talked about them to people, I'd kind of get mocked and ridiculed. But now, and nothing against these people, but I look back at them and who they are now, where they're at in life, and why I allowed them to occupy space in my head and talk me out of it, But then Sandy came, and I was stuck under houses again for 2.5 years for multiple companies, and I wanted to do a crawl-space company then, and all of a sudden that came, and that's what I call wet gold. Unfortunately, a lot of people lost some beautiful homes and lost, everything they've built for generations. But on my end, from a business aspect, it was just booming. Then I kind of got stuck on my ways there. I was drinking back then, pretty heavy, so I kind of had that security blanket of just having one routine. That's to wake up every day, go to work, come home, and that's it. Like my tasks of adulting was minimum. So I didn't have to do much. But there did come time where I thought about wanting to do my own thing. That thought was always there. So fast forward, many years, went clean and sober, and
Awesome.
That idea just started radiating, and it was calling out to me. And again, I'd mention it to people, and people kind of laugh, whatever. But then there's a few people that would say, dude, go for it. That's when I reach out to you. I'm like, man, I got to reach out to people that really, that they have a knack for this. There's levels to things in life, and I'm not blowing smoke, but I look up to you for many things. And I'm like, I got to reach out. And I felt awkward reaching out, but I'm like, I have to do this. And I always had that fear. There's always that wall that I put up. I'm like, but I have to force myself and bust through these walls if I want to make this happen. And that's when I reached out to you. And I'm like, I hope he doesn't reject me. Like, hope he don't think like.
I remember that text. I opened it up. I was like, holy shit.
Novel.
Bro, this was like pages,
Just like an entry
right?
form.
And the beginning was like, listen, man, I'm sorry if I'm taking up your time, but if you can just read this for me, I would appreciate it. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, right through. I probably responded to him. I don't know. It probably took me a good 10 minutes to read that thing, but as soon as I got through it, I knew it. And, but at the end of the day, I think I love when people, someone reached out to me the other day, people are scared to reach out to people.
100%, man.
What I see with
fear of
you
rejection.
is that, fear of rejection. But what I see with him is he took his addiction from alcohol. Now his addiction came into wanting to be his own business owner. So that addiction now went into a different place. And he was sick and tired of being sick and tired, working for other people, doing things. And I'm glad you did that. And we've talked a lot. We don't talk a lot, but we've talked a lot over time, based on the things that you're doing. And whenever you have questions or whenever you have, some kind of advice that you might need, I'm happy to give it to you.
Thank you, man.
And again, my advice is, only my advice. It's only my opinion, but I appreciate and respect, what you feel of me. And I'm super, super happy for you. And I've always told you, like, proud of you for what you've done and what you continue to do, because there are people out there, toxic dream stealers, that you've talked to over the years that are going to continue even to today. When you say, I want to make this next step in business or do this next thing, people are going to tear you down. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is they're watching you and they're like, shit, man, Mike's doing it. Now, if Mike does it, like, I can't do it, but Mike's doing it. So how do I keep Mike back from doing it?
Wow.
Because I need to keep him down.
Yeah, man.
And this is the way people think.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I thought that, but I was afraid that maybe that was my ego getting involved. But I do look at this, and the majority of people that were the naysayers, I didn't allow them to really occupy space in my head and talk me out of it, because obviously I'm at where I'm at. But, it did steer me off for a little bit there. But I look at where they're at, and they're still where they're at. If you keep doing what you keep doing, you're gonna keep getting what you keep getting.
Yeah.
You know,
Definition of insanity.
you know, and
Doing
I'm
the
looking
same
at
thing,
it,
expecting different
and
results.
these are some talented individuals as well, you know, but they just, for some reason, they're just comfortable where I was also in that spot where I was comfortable with that routine of just waking up every day, going to work for the man, and coming home, and that was it. So your adulting is minimal, you know. I mean, I don't know what goes on behind their closed doors, but just, you know, for another grown man to kind of talk another man out of his dreams, like, who are you to squash someone on their dreams, man? You know, it's like, but then there's people that would clap for me, like you, brother, and let me tell you, every time you said you're proud of me, that was like, man, like, it's like, again, I told you prior that my circle is very small, so when I do reach out to people, I mean it, and it's hard for me to do that, you know, for one, because of my social anxiety. That's another thing that kind of hindered me from going into things sooner. But, you know, when I do reach out, I mean that, you know.
Being an entrepreneur now, you realize that you have a lot more adulting, you know, as entrepreneurs, man, we don't get 5:30, we're up watching TV, you know, we're doing things Saturday and Sunday, you know, we're just kind of relaxing. I mean, you're always doing something now. Your life is totally in a different spot. But I admire you for a reason, because you're not only a businessman, but you're married.
Sure.
You got a son that has special needs.
Yes, sir.
So when people say it's tough, you could almost laugh inside. Like it's hard for you, like you want to trade, right? So maybe you could just talk about some of the adversity that you've gone through, like not only while being in business, but throughout your life, with some of the times where you probably wanted to quit. You probably wanted to throw in the towel. You know, maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Then you know what? Let's roll back to where the day I decided, because the day I decided I wanted to do this, I was never one to quit a company, and no matter how bad things got, I just would never throw in the towel to quit, because I just didn't like that feeling of quitting. You know, kind of like when you're working out and you're lifting, and you don't give it your all, you know, it occupies space in your head. Like, I quit. And there's no worse feeling than quitting. So I was at this one outfit they always took care of me. They were just phenomenal to me. But I asked for an absence of leave from them, and I left them for a little while. And I went to this small local outfit that was nearby where I live. But years prior, that small local outfit that I went back to, that's where I originally started at in the very beginning. So here I was 20 years later, and I went back to that same outfit where everything began. And it completely changed, but that was where, again, I don't want to criticize people, but was a place where all the workers in my industry who couldn't hack to other businesses were kind of falling there. And I didn't realize I just did a major backstep. Now, I left a great company on good terms, just kind of just sit back and do my own thing. And I knew that they'll hire me back, because we had a great reputation there, great, you know, relationships there. Yeah, I love them. But yeah, I just wanted to stay local for a little bit, and maybe kind of see if things would change. And I was always searching for something. And I'm like, you know what? This ain't it. And I told my wife, I said, babe, I think I'm going to go into business. And she said, go for it. And whenever she said to me, you know, Michael, whenever you put your mind to something, you always got what you wanted. But that was only when I put my mind to something. I never got anything easy, and nothing ever fell in my lap. And for a while in life, I thought things should come to me.
We all do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I really applied effort, things happen. And she was one of the main people in my life that made me realize that. And she would go down the bucket list of, like, you set out to do this, you set out to do that, you did this and you did that. And I was like, well, now that you say it that way. And that's when I reached out to you. I'm like, brother, like, what should I do here?
That's next level support.
And that's it. And I just reached out to people that I felt were important in my life, people that I am going to take advice from, you know. And I was just no longer talking about my moves. I decided to stop talking about my moves. And there's a quotation about that. I'm not going to regurgitate it. I'm going to ruin it probably. But there's something about just not talking about your moves. You probably know it, you know. And I just, but I talked to you about my moves because I knew you were the one person who would just, you would have the opposite to say what everybody else said. And so I left that company. I quit that company.
I'm relentless when you ask me a question.
And I just quit. And I did all the paperwork. Not me. My sister-in-law, man, she was amazing. She sat down with me. And she did the paperwork for me to get the business up and going. And that was in November of 3 years ago. And we got it up and going. And then it was crickets chirping. And it was quiet. And I'm like, what did I just do?
First year's rough.
It was just quiet. And I'm like, looking at my wife, I'm like,
you told me I could do this.
yeah. I'm like, you know, I had
Who
a
am I
bright
blaming
idea.
for this one?
Yeah. So I'm like, what do we do? And it got quiet. The phone started ringing. And, you know, thank God I have amazing support in my local community with a lot of people. So people were helping me out, being very supportive. And it started off slowly. And the first year was terrifying. It was very, very slow. But it wasn't until the second year that things just next level, man.
Do you remember your first customer?
Yes, I do. I do.
How did you obtain your first customer? Because you said it was quiet. You got nothing. You're just sitting there, kind of staring at the phone, like, please fucking ring, please ring.
You know what? Before I get into her, I would wake up every day and grab the phone and check it. I carry it around me 24/7. I'd be in stores with it, and I'll be checking it, and there's nothing. And
Thing's broken. It's not ringing.
It's like when you're waiting for your tax return. You're like, has it come today? Did it come today? Did it come today?
you know, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
what do
I
I
haven't had
do?
one in quite a long time either.
But yeah, the first one, and I honestly, you know, I knew of her through town, but for some reason I was just nervous, and I had no reason to be. But I went in there and I gave her beyond the fair price because, you know, one, I wanted to really help, you know, get the business out there with the name. I don't know if that's a common practice that people kind of lowball at the first.
Absolutely.
In the beginning, yeah, you need something. You know what I mean? As long as you're making something.
So I'm in there and I'm lowballing, you know, and
it's the cost for experience, right? It's like you're interacting with you're going to the proposal stage, you're closing out the job, things that you've probably never done before. You just did the job. And then you got a paycheck at the end of the week. Now you're doing the entire process start to finish. So, yeah, it's very common.
And that's where the adulting comes into play because I didn't have to do that prior because the companies I was at had the salesmen. They wrote things out. And now, you know, I remember the first day I went to Staples and bought the work order slips.
Yeah,
I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like, how do I
still
do
sell those things?
Yeah, I still use them, actually.
And that's what I still do it. Like, you know, and yeah, and I'm like, how do I fill this out? And honestly, I can tell, I can probably count on one hand then how many times I've ever actually signed my name on something. Because if I went to the doctor's office and he gave me a clipboard, give it right to the wife. You know? And so here I am now. I got to start writing, and I have writing that looks like a second grader, you know. And
shit,
I
can't even read this.
And that's where it was at. Yeah.
So the question was the adversity throughout challenges of life with your son, with your marriage, and in your business. Like, how did you handle these adversity challenges? Like your son, like when he was young, and I'm sure like was very challenging.
Yes.
Now he's adulting. He's getting older. You're starting to see what he's capable of. Being married is very challenging.
Yes, sir.
And I think all those turns of adversity, I think people listening want to know, like, oh man, I have a son or a daughter with special needs, or two kids with special needs, or, you know, a dog that has 3 legs, who knows, you know, whatever their excuse is. And I just can't see myself going to business because I have to put all my time here. Like, how did you step outside of all the stuff that was going on in your life to know that you were doing it for them? But how did you like get yourself in a position to know that, like, I have to win for them, and adversity made you who you are today when people can't get out of that position where, like, I'm stuck here, you know, because there was a point in life where you were stuck. I'm sure when your son was young. How old's your son now?
He's 17.
17. So I'm sure when your son was in his first 5 years of life, super challenging. We were talking about it before, you know, off camera. Like, all right, am I ready to let him take a shower by himself? You know, so it's the same thing in life. Like, how did you get through those points to make yourself, Myke Hogan, a better person to face adversity and go through adversity. Now the challenges that you go through today are so much easier. Like your business challenges are way easier than your son's challenges, than your marriage challenges.
Absolutely.
So maybe we could just talk about that.
Sugar, shoot. Where to even begin with that? How I got through with that was honestly sobering up, you know, because during all that time.
What was a sobering moment for you before you jump in?
I went, you know, I went sober several times, you know, but the last one.
We all have.
Pardon?
We all have.
Yeah. You know, the last one was, it was 10 years. It was during that time I started doing some reflecting. And I realized even during my worst moments, I was never absent for my family, and I was always there. But when I went sober, I was able to adult, you know, more clearly and see things more clearly, and to realize that no matter how difficult things were and how difficult things got with you know, having son, you know, with autism and having, you know, special needs or just my issues with my family life, me and my wife bumping heads, whatever, we always got through it. We always got through it. And you know, so fast forward on that one, you know, when I took the plunge to go into the business, I realized, look, man, like I blasted through the worst of the worst, you know, and what got me through all that was just pressing forward, man. And you made a reference about winning for my family, winning for my son, you know, because when I was sober, you know, and God bless, you know, still am, but I'm looking at my son like, man, I got to do something for him. And I was terrified, you know, but every time I went through something, I always got through it, and a lot of times there's more worrying, but with all the worrying that I was going through, none of it ever happened.
None of
it ever happened.
That we worry about never happened.
Never happened. And
You think you were drinking to cope the time and to just get through it, but then when you realized when you were actually sober and going through it, you got through the difficult times easier because you were able to adapt and pay attention to it versus trying to make it go away by just drinking?
Preach, man. Preach. That's 100%. That's exactly why, you know, and but even though I found the solutions then, when I could have been a better father, a better partner, I was still making it happen. But yeah, it got easier, 100%. Was it still difficult? 100%, but it wasn't nearly as difficult. I wasn't my own worst enemy. I had different challenges, different struggles, and I had a whole different perspective and a different way of looking at it and approaching it, you know. And again, back to that statement you made about winning, that I was tired of losing. I was tired of being my own worst enemy and tired of just standing idle in life. You know, I always felt like I had time. Like, I can do this later. I'll do this later. I kept putting things off, and then I'm realizing this thing's ticking. This thing's moving. Then I'm looking in the mirror, I'm getting grays, and I'm like, man, time's running out. Like, I gotta do something here. And with every trial and tribulation and things I've been through, I was always scared. I was running on fear. That's why I drank. I was running on fear, phobia, procrastinating, everything. You know, so, you know, fast forward to where I made the plunge for the business. I just wanted to dive in and I was sick and tired of being scared, sick and tired of being afraid of everything. I just wanted to just tackle the demons, I guess, and just, you know, face life, and just because everybody else around me is adulting, everybody else is doing it, and I just wanted to just make it happen, man, and I did.
Yeah, so you said something earlier that I'm curious. Well, you have the same problem that a lot of us have, where before you knew it, you were an entrepreneur, where you had insomnia, and all you could think about was what could be, what if. All these dreams, all these aspirations, and that kept you up. And that's unfortunately a product of being an entrepreneur, or a result of being an entrepreneur. So with that, you know, that was before you started the business, that you were just like, man, I could do this, and I have all these ideas, and I want to express them. I just don't know how, you know, until your wife said, you know what, just shut up and do it. But what keeps you up now?
Wanting to be better. You know, that even kept me up then, wanting to be better, but, you know, wanting to be a better version of myself. What actually keeps me up now a lot at night, is wanting to right all of my wrongs, but we can't. I mean, only to a degree. We can't go back in the past, but to just be a better version moving forward of myself. With each and every single interaction I have with people, and that is legitimately something that keeps me up at night. Is to just be a better person. Also with the business, what keeps me up is not wanting to fail, because I've failed so many times in life where I was my own failure. No one else did it. No one else, put some chain and ball on my leg and said, haha, I'm going to make you fail. It was always me. And that's my biggest fear, is going back into my head. It's like my head is a bad neighborhood, and we know not to walk down a bad street. If the lights are dark, you don't go down the bad street because you're going to get mugged. So I try to stay out of my head, because I'm going to end up mugging myself. So those are the things that kind of keep me up at night, is not wanting to fall back into the old rhythm of who I used to be, if that makes any sense.
I think failure has made you who you are, and failure is inevitable. We have to fail. And if you didn't fail throughout your life, you wouldn't be where you are today. And for you to get to that next person that you deserve to be, and the next person that your family deserves you to be, you're going to fail. And you're going to hit rock bottom at some point, and you're going to come back up, because there's always this plateau. It's like, all right, we've made it. Now, shit, we can't go no more. So do we sit here at this glass ceiling and become comfortable? That's where you were at your job, right? And it's like, all right, you fell down. You weren't making any money. What am I going to do? So failure is inevitable. It's something that's going to continue to happen, but it's going to keep bringing the better version of Myke Hogan, the better version of Myke Hogan, on and on. So that's something that you have to look at and adapt to. But what I would look at is that, look at the person you are today compared to, let's go back 10 years. And if you had a conversation with Myke 10 years ago, would the conversation be as intelligent? Would it be as inspiring? Would it be the same conversation we're having today? Probably not, right? So you didn't want to get on the podcast because you were nervous. You're far from nervous. We've had other people sweating. Like, we literally saw the palms of their hands on their pants, and they were sweating. You're doing phenomenal. But what you're doing right now is you're getting out everything that you needed to get out for people to know who Myke is. And I think that you've done a phenomenal job. You're going to continue to do a phenomenal job, but you're doing it for the right reasons. You're not doing it for the clout. You're not doing it for the fame, but just waking up every day knowing, like, how does it feel when you wake up knowing, like, man, like, I did this, like shit, like, I don't have to answer to nobody. I don't have to go to work if I don't want to. I get to make my own choices. How's that feeling?
Oh man, the joys and rewards that I get out of that is phenomenal. My wife makes some jokes about it at times when she comes home from work. She's like, it must be nice to sit on the couch and watch TV. And I'm just like, yeah, hon, it's like 15 degrees outside right now. She's indoors, doing what she's doing. And bless her, her job is terrible. She works her butt off, but yeah. So I kind of laugh at that. That's an inside joke at my house, where I get to call the shots if it's a work day or not. But I feel guilty on those days too, because I know deep down inside I could have got something done and I could have did it. So when the opportunity comes up for the next day, it's a good day, then I'm just killing it. I'm doing what I got to do. But yeah, it's the joys and rewards again that come out of this. If you would have told me, like, again, go back 10 years ago and talk to me and have this conversation, I was incapable of comprehending. I would have never.
What would you have told yourself?
Probably just simply the basics, and that would be just don't give up on yourself and don't listen to the naysayers. And you know what? Just whatever you set yourself out to do, whatever you set out that you want to accomplish, you've always done it. And I stole that line from my wife, and I go back to myself and tell myself that, because when my wife told me that, I needed to hear that. So if I can go back in time, I know I needed to hear that, and I tell myself that.
So you basically just told the audience, someone was sitting in the audience listening to this right now being like, man, I'm fearing. And you just told them, like, don't listen to the naysayers, go out there, do what you got to do. And what I like about your story is, like you said, 2010, you had the itch, but you just weren't ready. Myke wasn't available yet. You weren't going to be the best version of yourself. So anything that would have happened, you would have fucked it up anyway.
I ruined it.
You had to get to a better place. So I truly believe that, like, we always want things in life, but God doesn't give us things till we deserve them, right? And we always need to inspect what we expect out of life. And I truly tell people all the time, like, you can't be blessed if you're not blessable. Like, he's not bringing a blessing unless it's your time. You look at it, we look at everybody else. Oh, look at this guy, look at this girl. Look what they got. But they're ready. They went through the trenches. We don't know what they went through.
Absolutely.
But people look at you in business and they see you, even some people when they come over and try to negotiate the price with you, they don't realize like, dude, this is my living. This is what I do for a living.
Thank you.
I try to tell people like, how about if I negotiate your paycheck? You get a paycheck every week. How if your boss was like, you know what, this week I'm going to pay you half that price.
Right.
How would you feel?
Right.
That's how I feel when you try to negotiate my price.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And it's interesting because many people told me, through my journeys in life, know your value, know your worth. And those are the people that seen my potential that I was incapable of seeing. They were like, man, Myke, like you're better than this. Like man, like you're stuck. Get yourself unstuck.
So how do you handle objections? I know that's one of the things that you said on your intake form was that you have to deal with, people price shopping for lack of, exactly what you said.
Gotcha.
So how do you handle that, with what you do? I mean, you're pretty much, it's you and a couple other people on your team, right? Small team.
Yes.
And, you're pretty much doing everything from start to finish, the proposals to the end work, delivering the final product. How do you handle that now that, you're in the trenches right after you get them to sign? So how do you speak to a customer that is literally just price shopping?
The window shoppers, I just listen to their needs and I want to see exactly, what they're interested in getting. You get the people that waste your time, but, I go there. I will entertain it. I'll listen to them. I'll tell them what services I can offer them, what will benefit them. I do let them know about the corners that people cut in this market, what to expect. And when I talk to them, I break down the exact science behind what I do and how it would benefit them. So I am better educating them, even though they're window shopping. And a good portion of those times, those people end up calling me back, not right away, but many months later. And so, in fact, I actually have landed a lot of those jobs with those window shoppers because they went window shopping. And I always tell them, if you're doing quotes or whatever, you're calling around getting different estimates, do yourself a favor. I'm going to educate you right now, and I want you to ask the next people X, Y, and Z, or see if they mention X, Y, and Z. And if they don't, these are the corners that are being cut, and this is where they're not delivering for you.
Why don't you get like a card made, like a trifold card or something that has all your bullet points of what you provide and what you do, and leave them with that.
Good point.
And say, I just want you to know that no one else that you bring in here is going to mention any of these things. And if they do, they're not going to be all of them. But I just want you to keep you in mind. These are the important things that we need to do for you. And if you're looking for the cheapest price, you're not going to get the best R value. But if you're looking for the best R value to lower your cost and make your house more efficient, these are all the items that you need.
Bingo.
And then now, like, because they're only remembering like, oh, Myke said as long as I go tight in the corners and I tape this and I do this, they hear one thing. But here, leave them, get a trifold made guy in town. Maybe barter with him, hey, whatever, and that way you can leave them with something instead of a business card, and then they have that.
Brilliant idea.
And it's kind of like they can question.
And people are forgetful, right?
They are.
Anything they can hold on, they can hold on to.
But yeah, that's with the majority of those people, though, I do try to better educate them. And, when I do give them some verbiage, I know they're forgetting it.
Yeah.
I'll text them too. I'll give them emails and whatnot, and I'll tell them, hey, just hold on to
about it.
this.
You're delivering everything in a text.
Yeah,
Man, this guy took his time.
They'll never forget that text.
Never. But yeah, so that's that right there.
We live in a generation, though, like you have to realize no matter how much information you give somebody, they're still focused on price. So they need something to leave with the value. Like, what am I getting here? I need some substance. Like, what am I getting for his price versus like, I'm going to get the big company in here that's doing multiple guys in the area charging minimal numbers. Why do I want to hire Myke?
Well, that's where I explain to them where, not that I'm cutting the throats of other companies, but I emphasize that they have a salesman coming out there. And, that salesman, he really isn't crawling under these crawl spaces and inspecting it inch for inch for inch. And really, they're just poking a head under there and kind of getting a general idea and then doing a measurement from the outside of the square footage of how much material they need, where I'm crawling under there and I'm inspecting everything. And when I come out, That's where I'll tell a homeowner, look, you have different size beams down there. It's 16 on center over here, but the far end is 12 on center over there. But the next guy that comes here, I guarantee he's not going to go in there. He's not going to find that. And I let people know also they're going to send back a crew of guys that they're just insulators. And these guys aren't specialists at what they do. They do everything, but I'm in these things every day. It's what I do for a living. Yeah. So, when it comes to my service compared to your service or their services, these guys want to be in and out. They're paid per square foot. This is my company. They're paid per square foot. They want to bang it out and get home. That's their living right there. But this is my job. This is my business. So my hands are literally on every single piece. And, I'm giving you not only that, but my truck outside, all the tools in there. I'm bringing all of my years of experience to your house with every snippet and fragment that I have pulled from people that I've learned over the years, and I molded my own formula, and my formula works, and that's what I emphasize, and I tell the homeowners, and 9 out of 10 times they're like,
I think you should create a basic package like these other guys do, and say that you don't you won't warranty it because this is what everyone else is doing, but this is what you recommend and this is what you do and you'll warranty. Like, here, I could be the price of the other guys. If I just throw insulation in, here's the price. And then they can see like, oh, that's cheap, but here's the price to do it the right way. And then say you decide you're probably gonna get numbers around here, but this is the right thing to do. Maybe do something like that. Comparison.
Yeah, giving customers options is super powerful.
Okay.
Hey, this is our very basic, and this is my custom Myke fucking Hogan special. Like, this is what I would do at my house price, right? This is what I would do to your home.
Right.
I think it's a very powerful tool.
Because remember, people just want cheap sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you're not standing behind it and not warrantying it, they're going to be like, oh, well, I'd rather have the warranty. All right, well, it's going to be $1,200 more for the warranted work, but you're going to get a warranty and you're going to get a better service. But this is what everyone else is doing.
And I think without even saying it, you do what you're supposed to do. You clearly don't self-define as a salesman. I could tell, right? The big beard, and not going to go around saying, "Yeah, I sell shit."
Right.
That's not who you are.
No.
You do shit. Right?
Sure, absolutely.
You make things happen. But without even knowing it, you have done a tremendous job at explaining what the value is to the customer. And where exactly did that come from? Is that something that you just felt one day? Or did you read it somewhere? Do you involve yourself and constantly educate yourself in your space, outside of your space, mindset stuff? How did you learn to, quote unquote, sell your product?
That's a good question. I wish I could say, I came up with my own formula. No, I did my due diligence. I did a lot of reading, just basic free information on the internet, how to better approach people, just reading a bunch of stuff. And some of it was pretty tacky, some pretty tacky salesman, sleazy car salesman approaches. And then, I kind of filtered through all of that and looked for what was genuine and looked what fit, for me, because some things I'm like, that's not me, man, and I'm just reading it and it's just, I can't utter that kind of bullshit, Well,
you grew into the person that you wanted to become, and you turned into the ideal guy that wants to display information to the other people. I think it's admirable that you don't want to be that car salesman guy. You're not just trying to sell shit to somebody. So that's powerful in your experience. So, like, if the audience is watching right now, let's say someone, or you wanted to make a commercial of this, somehow, why would they want to hire your company? What value do you bring versus the rest of the people in the marketplace? Why would we want you? You know what, Myke, we need insulation in this building here right now. Why should we hire you? Forget about cost. That's secondary. Why should we hire you?
In those instances, I tell people, for one, I'm on the job. And again, my hand is touching almost literally every single piece. And I'm there with my guys. And I take pride in each and every single square foot and inch of that house. And I take the job home with me. And I do guarantee the jobs. I do tell them, depending on the application, it's a 2-year guarantee in a crawl space. I let people know, hey, listen, you have any questions or concerns, always give me a call back. This isn't where, once you sign the check over, I'm gone, I'm done. I'm here for you. I'm here for you each and every single step of the way, and that's where I go back and I emphasize on my experience and where I'm at. And at times, I go in a little bit of a shamil about what the industry is all about and how other companies and other installers, they're just there to collect a paycheck. And I tell them about the corners that people cut, and I let them know that I was one of those guys. That once upon a time I worked on these crews where we're getting paid per square foot and we're just slamming the material in there. Because when you're not paid per hour and you're paid per square foot, you don't got time to mess around. So you want to slam it in there. Do you want someone to slam in the work? Is that what you want? To where, when it's my business, I can dial it down a little bit where I don't have that pressure where I got to get it done by 3 o'clock. I'm going to get it done my way, the effective way, the most efficient way. That's pretty much what I tell people.
Yeah, it seems like you could just simply tell people that these other companies, their bottom line is based on margin, and your bottom line is based on their experience, their satisfaction, right? And it's clear, right? That's 100%. How you built your business. You're 100% referral, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Everyone. So you've been doing exceptionally well based on the numbers you provided us earlier.
Been luck,
with just referrals, no advertising, probably no SEO.
He's not even an internet. I don't even think he has a computer.
Yeah, he came here with a typewriter, I think. Today, so that was cool. No, but yeah, and with that being said, I want everyone in the audience who's either interested in doing what you're doing or has some crawl space needs to find you. So how exactly can they do that?
I do have a page, crawlspaceinnovations.com. They can go on there and they can find me on Facebook as well. That's Crawl Space Innovations LLC on Facebook. They can see a lot of my work on there. But yeah, now the other part of the question, people that were interested in going into a business,
shut up and go.
You
Just
should
shut up and go.
just go after it.
Fucking do it.
And don't fear it.
Don't fear it, man.
Just,
any obstacles you put up, man. In fact, if there is any obstacles, the majority of them, we put up ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm yet to really find an obstacle in life that just, man, where did that come from? It's something that I either put off for too long, or I just pretended it wasn't there anymore, and they just accumulate. And when I just get everything done that I have to, and I'm clear-minded, man, everything's crystal clear, and you just have a better thought process and a better vision, and you can see things more clearly, and it's at that moment, no one's going to knock on the door and say, hey, here's your business, or hey, here's how you're going to start up. You just got to do it. And as terrified as you're going to be, like I'm telling you, you're going to get scared, and it's going to happen. I'm still scared at times, but you know what? The rewards outweigh that. It truly does, man. And what outweighs that too is just the amount of customers you meet, the relationships you establish. It truly does get really good. It's almost like Christmas time. It's just, it's so exciting. I mean, there's always something new around the corner. I'm always establishing a new relationship, new things I wouldn't have never thought would come my way, and networks that I didn't think would ever exist, and just meeting so many different people. And it's like, wow, if you'd have brought me back to day one again when I was terrified and shaken, I would never have realized
Different
that.
person.
Yeah, and I'm not that guy. That guy's gone. That guy from day one, I'll never be that man again.
So shut up and do it. Do right by people and get yourself a supportive wife and or husband.
Right. Amen.
That's Myke's 3 rules, or what?
And something else to add to that, be of service to people as well. When you're going through these journeys and you're tackling new things in life, also find a time to be of service for people too, and that does help as well. It helps you feel better about yourself. And being of service to people also don't forget that either, and they remember you, and they'll be more inclined to mention your name to other people. Like, hey, man, this guy kind of came through, And there's jobs where I'm not saying I did for free, but there's times I felt it for people, and they're in a rock and a hard spot. And
every dud knows a stud. You got to keep plowing. Just keep doing it.
Yeah. And I just times I've hooked people up. Like, I got you on this one.
Well, Myke, it was awesome having you here on the podcast. You did phenomenal.
Thank you.
Incredible story.
Thank you.
We'll be sure to put Myke's website on the link here. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so. We appreciate the algorithm. See you soon.